Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clement, the brand navigator, here to share stories that make you say, well, that's audacious. Hello and welcome to That's Audacious. We have another audacious guest with us, the fabulous Mellissa David, who is the master of all things growth and engagement and an incredible business leader. And she's just doing impossible things and making them possible, which I love about her brand. Mel's going to tell us a little bit more about how she got started and what she's been doing. And we're going to find out the challenges that she's overcome as a business person and now an international award winner as well. So Mel, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to us. Tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Hi, my name is Mellissa David, and I'm originally from San Francisco, California. I did my undergrad as a playwright, actually, at Cal State Fullerton. I have a master's in Shakespeare. And then I lived in New York City and worked as an actress. But during that entire time, I was always helping all the adults around me with their online presence, because they all had companies, and when Facebook first came out, they had no idea what was happening. So I was 16 years old and I was working for these big companies, like helping them build, what their website needed to look like, their Facebook. And then as the different social medias came out, they always would come back to me and be like, Mel, what is this? Including recently when they came back and they're like, Mel, what is TikTok? Like, what are we doing? As a businesswoman, I kind of stepped away from full-time acting because in Australia, there wasn't a big enough traffic for that. So I kind of really settled into the corporate world here. And I became the head of growth and engagement, actually, at an accounting firm at Klein Partners. And I ran an HR department, and marketing department, and a business development department. And I obviously burnt out because I was running all these different brains. And from that, I said to myself, okay, what do I like most out of this? And I really like two things. One is the marketing aspect of helping companies that don't really look at marketing, don't want to pay for a marketing team, to actually just have somebody to do the basics for them and to get them online and to treat professional services like any other service. And then the other thing I love to do is helping companies with growth and engagement in general. So being in that final table where women aren't allowed in, and that final boardroom table, something about my energy, I get in there for some reason. And I sit with all these usually men, over 70, and they're like, what are we doing wrong? What's happening? And I'm like, well, first off, where are the women? And they're like, they're just outside. I'm like, let them in. They've been here for 30 years too. They know this company. Ask them these questions. Because the number one issue with most companies is that you have the same voices talking to each other for 30 years. So you're bouncing the same ideas off the people that have now kind of melded and become one person. Some of these people went to school together. They grew up together. Like their wives know each other. Like they're one being. So adding diversity in that final boardroom is really important. So my main goals is to get as many women as possible into that final leadership table on all sides. And to do that, we need to empower women, tell women that they can ask for their seat at the table, ask for their worth, and to really knock on that door. And for the men to also really look around and say, where are the women? And this isn't like you've done anything wrong or anything like that, but it's time to really stop, look around and say, is there any other women that are in this building currently that I've been working with for 10 years that could also be in this room with me? And that person might be the admin woman who knows everything about that company, who might have some really good ideas about how it needs to go forward. And then number two is to get as much money as possible back into the arts. My base is the arts. My heart is the arts. I'm a Shakespeare nerd. So my heart is always bringing as much money back, which is why I'm a founding member of Antipodes Theater Company, which now has a staff of 5, an advisory board of 12, 3 full productions a year with a budget of over, each one of them is over 40,000 each. And somehow we're able to do it now. So it's just, there's a lot more I do. Should I keep talking? I'm sorry.
I get the feeling that the word no and taking things slow isn't in your vocabulary, Mel.
No. I do though. I'm taking a year of rest. Like I went on vacation. I had to work while I was on vacation because I'm that person, but I was at least in a different location.
I love it. So a couple of little things. Firstly, I'm in burnout. A lot of people talk about burnout. as being either the worst thing that happened to them and sometimes the best thing that happened to them. And I guess a result of your burnout has been, look, let's look at what I'm doing with my life and my time and my energy and do something different, because your business is relatively new, isn't it?
Yes. So the things I've been doing in it, I've been doing for years, just because for the accounting firm, I started doing all their clients. So I already had all these portfolios that I was doing for other people, but I just wasn't getting paid for it. So it was just redefining like my old company. I went to him and I said, you need to fire me to hire me. And then he was like, Mel, but he's like, I'm like, look, I love you. This is how it's going to go. And so the next week he was like, Mel, he was like, you're effing fired. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I love you. And then he hired me. Yeah. Go ahead.
The other thing that you mentioned as well, after the burnout as a wake-up call and so on, which I think is a really great lesson. A lot of people who are listening to this should be thinking, well, am I doing what I really want to do, or am I just wearing myself out? I think it's a really interesting question we all need to ask ourselves at times. But also you talked a lot about engagement and how if we had more women in the boardroom, we had more women around the table, especially with a lot of businesses, we might learn a lot about engagement. Do you think engagement and communication and listening and those sorts of skills are a women's realm? Is that a natural skill that we have?
I would say yes, but then also I want to make sure that it's not only just about women being in that room, it's about diverse voices being in that room. So even if it's age or someone from a different country or someone from a different background, like that's the most important mixture to create to that final boardroom. And then to just go back to that burnout, I learned that in my burnout, sorry, it's two conversations, I know. I learned that in my burnout, I, on the weekends, would start working for the other job that I wanted to have. And that would actually refeed me enough. So on the weekends, I would literally set 6 hours every weekend to study something new. And that's what I'm doing now as well, because I'm noticing I'm kind of getting like tired of designing the campaigns for all the clients. And I'm only 8 months in. I'm like, okay, Mel, what do I need to do? And I'm like, you want to what? I want to be a director of big photo shoots. So I've created some relationships with photographers. And on the weekends, I'm going and I'm hanging out just for 6 hours with photographers, sitting with them on their photo shoots and watching how it moves and things like that. And that's feeding me to work for the week now. So it's about feeding a different part of you so then your burnout doesn't take over, and it'll help you keep going. If you need to keep going, because I'm lucky in the way that I don't really have any responsibilities other than I own this apartment, but I don't have any plants. I don't have any children. I don't have a partner. And all of those things and all those layers add to that burnout because you can't adjust those really. Like your kids are your kids and your partner is your partner and the plants need to be watered. So it's kind of like, I'm lucky in a way that I'm very flexible at this moment in my life. So I know that too. So what I speak of is how I'm helping my burnout, but I'm totally aware that most women are like, that's great. I would love to spend 6 hours on the weekend doing something else. It's just about creating little moments then, create 15 minutes here and there to when you were little, what did you dream of doing? And if that was a ballerina and you're 50, who cares? Like, let's turn on a ballet thing on your YouTube in your living room and by yourself, just make yourself giggle and do some ballet. Like, it's about creating joy within yourself because are we allowed to cuss on this, by the way?
Yeah, look, I can't stop myself most of the time, Mel, so you go for it.
Okay. Because last week, my favorite reel that's popping through the feeds right now is there's a sound over and there's a woman standing on a beach and she's just looking off into the distance. And the sound over says, you know, you only have one life. And she looks towards the camera and it goes, so fuck it. And she just smiles and runs into the water. And it's like, that's what I want everyone to feel. It's like, we only have one life. Like we need to wake up and just take it. And just find joy within yourself, find joy within the people around you, give and love and just be in the moment. And don't worry about all the things. Because if you've paid your bills your whole life, guess what? You're going to pay your bills. You're going to know when that bank account hits that moment that your body goes, I need to get another job, or I need to be more responsible, or I need to stop Uber eating as much. Don't worry about the habits that we've already built in. Like if you take a shower every day, guess what? You're still going to take a shower every day, whether or not you worry about it or not. So don't worry about the habits that you've already had.
I love this conversation because so much of it is, I mean, we've moved between burnout and engagement, but really we're talking about the same thing, aren't we? If you really want to find your passion and find that you have a fulfilled life and you're doing things that drive you and fire you up and make you feel alive, chances are you're engaged. Chances are you're engaged with what you're doing, with the people you're doing it with, and with the impact that you have on the world. I want to just take a quick dive into the challenges that you faced, Mel. What do you think some of the biggest challenges have been in really getting started with your business and making sure that it's operating so well?
Again, I think it's really important that before you start your business, you really prep it. You really know what you're doing. And there is a yin and yang to that as well, because sometimes people prep for too long, right? They're like, once this one thing is perfect, then I'll start the business and whatnot. Because sometimes you do have to be brave and kind of just put yourself out there. But because I worked for an accounting firm and my job was to sign new clients, support them, I saw how entrepreneurs created their own companies. Everything from the guy who did my branding, did the branding for the Sydney Olympics because he likes me. He likes me. He gave me a $30,000 branding package for a couple grand because he's like, Mel, you're good people. Because I had already created this relationships because I had gotten him so many jobs. Like my accountant is my old boss. So I was able to incorporate, I was able to build two trusts, a family trust as well as a business trust. And if you have any questions, by the way, of all these things, just write me on LinkedIn. Like I am so available to have conversations with people. This information doesn't belong to anybody. It's free. But I got really lucky in the fact that I had a chunk of cash because I didn't spend any money in the last couple of years. And I was able to get good branding. I can build my own websites. I was able to pay for incredible accounting, and I was able to create a base, my invoice systems and things like that, because I know how that all works. So yeah, I was lucky. And the biggest challenge I think was actually quitting my job. That was the hardest thing to do because I felt so responsible, because 5 of those people in that last company, I had gotten them their jobs there. So I was responsible for these humans, these lives. And I know that the energy I bring into the office, I'm a really happy person. So I walk in, I'm like, good morning. I lift the energy and also kind of fluctuate and feel when people need space or not need space. And I created beautiful environments and experiences for the staff. And I knew that when I was going to go, that I was taking that culture with me. And being the person that is that person, and I'm very conscious of it, I was like, that was the hardest part, was actually leaving them all. And knowing to this day, they still write me and they're like, Mel, I really miss you. I'm really unhappy. And so it was being selfish. I think it was the hardest part, was me actually being selfish for the first time in my life and kind of just doing what I needed to do for myself. And yeah.
I love it. That's such an awesome journey that you've taken us on with what you do and the way you approach life in general. It's fantastic. If you are listening to That's Audacious, and you can find more episodes like this on the That's Audacious podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from, or on our YouTube channel. If you want to know more about Mellissa David and what she does for businesses, please visit her website. The link will be below this episode. Mel, what are you most proud of achieving?
Buying this apartment. Honestly, my mother was a cleaning lady and we never owned anything. And to be able to walk into a home, because I moved so much as a kid. I moved 18 different times in 18 years. And to be able to walk into, sometimes I just sit on the ground and I touch the ground and I kind of just cry, because my mother's passed away as well as my stepdad. And I really wish that she could just see this home. I've built a home and I painted every wall and there's paintings everywhere, and people don't really understand the importance of it to me because it's my first home and I own it. And I own a lot of it too, not just a little bit. It's mostly mine, and that's what I'm most proud of.
Fantastic. There's nothing quite like having your own space, is there? And just knowing exactly where you live, I know from an engagement and a connection point of view, knowing where you live and feeling safe is so vital for good mental health as well. So how did the Audacious Agency help you, Mel?
Oh my gosh. So I started getting some notifications like, hey, you're up for this award. Hey, you should apply for this award, and things like that. And I got to like 10 and I was like, I don't know. I don't have time for this. I'm working 12 hours a day. And I wrote, and I was like, help me. And she was like, I got you. And she was like, we'll do it out in chunks. I said, no, I need to send you like a bunch of cash right now. And then you just have me for the whole year. I was like, and she was like, done. And so we sat down, we made a giant calendar, and so far I think we're at 2 awards that I've won. And then one of them I've been nominated for a leadership thing. And it's just so nice. It feels like it's a part of my team. Like she's like my PR team, and I'm able to focus on what I'm actually doing. And yeah, Audacious just kind of focuses on, it's really important too for me as a young woman, as well as a young businesswoman, to have these awards, because you look at me and you kind of see a hippie kid. You don't really see a businesswoman. And to have these awards behind me kind of gives me that standing that I know that I have, that I already have merit with, different companies, but to have that saying, no, we recognize this young woman as like a powerful innovator in marketing and in growth and engagement. It's so important.
Yeah, that credibility around awards is second to none, isn't it? And it is so nice to see the judges' feedback and to realise that, look, I think I know I'm doing a pretty good job, but actually I am, and there's these great recommendations coming from awards judges as well. Mel, if you could go back for 1 minute to when you first thought about what you were going to do in life as a young girl, and you could give yourself a bit of advice, what would it be?
Save money. Cash flow is key. I don't know. I think I did it right. I was 5 years old and I told my mom I wanted to be an actress. And I literally studied at the best schools in the world for it throughout my life. And I enjoyed so much of that I'm able to really sit in a corporate environment now with such peace, because I really got to live out my dreams. And I was so headstrong. I built my first company by the time I was 8. Like, I'm just an abnormal little child. And all the things that happened to me when I was a kid that I didn't really have control of, I didn't have control of. So there was advice of like, have more secure parents. I mean, like, you can't really, because I never really beat myself up as a kid, because I knew that one day it would change and it would be okay. So business-wise, probably nothing, but like heart-wise, probably spend more time with my mom. When I was like in my late teens before she went, I wish I would have spent more time with her. But I mean, that's about it. I've always led with my heart, and I've not worried too much, and I've never compared myself to other people. And I would say that to people, like, don't ever compare yourself to anybody else, because everyone's journey is so different. And the more you struggle, the more joy you have at the end of it. If you had to fight for something for 20 years, every day when you walk into that, it's going to feel like ecstasy every single day, because you had to fight for it, versus the 19-year-old that literally walked right into it and got it handed to them. And you're like, why is this happening? They're not as happy as you. So yeah, I would say don't compare yourself to anybody. I never did, but that's in general what I see other people's like downfalls is.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. I love it. I was going to ask you for any tips, and you've already given them to us, which is fantastic. So, Mellissa, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. To all the listeners out there, I hope you've got a lot of information from Mel, but more importantly, just that inspiration and motivation to engage with what you're doing, engage with your audiences, and get in touch with Mel. As she says, hook up with her on LinkedIn or visit her website and start that conversation. Mel, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on That's Audacious. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lauren. Have a great day.
Thanks so much to our audacious guests today, and to everyone for listening. Remember, there's no place in business for modesty, and you deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast or our YouTube channel, or join us in the Rocket Launch Your Business Facebook group. The links are in the description below.